Now I'm going to be tackling another band that ties in with Black Sabbath and Dio and all these other bands, known as Rainbow. Now there are some bands I might go back and cover that lead up to Rainbow, and that would be Deep Purple and Elf. So what happened? How did Rainbow randomly form from Elf and Deep Purple? So Ritchie Blackmore was getting kind of pissed off with Deep Purple. Ian Gillan had already left Deep Purple at the time, and they were going in like a groovy sort of direction he didn't like. So Ritchie Blackmore, the guitarist from Deep Purple, then went and recruited some new members in this band known as Elf. Elf was led by Ronnie James Dio, the late great Ronnie James Dio, who I believe sang and played bass of Elf. So Ritchie Blackmore then convinced all the members of Elf to abandon Elf's guitarist and to join his new band, which I don't think really had a definitive name. I think they just called the album Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, and then they just called the band Rainbow. This album came out in '75, and the artwork is very gay, but very awesome. It's very colorful and very rainbowy. I believe they may have also gotten a new bass player from somewhere, because, like I said, I think Ronnie played bass in Elf, so they must have had to get a new bass player. This album showcases a new love of Ritchie Blackmore's. It may have been showcased a tiny bit on Deep Purple's albums, but Ritchie Blackmore is really hard up for fucking medieval stuff. And, which is a perfect match because Ronnie James Dio loves to write lyrics about magical stuff and like knights and wizards. The first song, Man on the Silver Mountain, is an absolute Rainbow classic. And what else is kind of funny is for Ronnie James Dio's tribute album that all these metal people contributed to when he died. They covered a bunch of Ronnie James Dio songs, Rainbow songs, Black Sabbath, Dio era songs, and all this stuff. And Rob Halford sang on a cover for this song, Man on the Silver Mountain, and it is the most boring shit ever. His vocal cover of it is the most blandest, lifeless shit ever. However, that is not the same with this version, because Dio sounds better than he's ever sounded. And Rainbow with Dio is easily some of my favorite Dio stuff ever. All three Rainbow Dio era albums are all very, very, very good and have absolute classics on them. And this one is no exception. Man on the Silver Mountain is a 5 out of 5. The riffs are very classic, and I love the bridge thing that builds up to the chorus. It sounds very magical-y, and the guitar sound really weird. It sounds very, very Celtic. Then we start to go down a bit in quality with Self-Portrait, which is still a good song, but it kind of has that like swaying riff over and over, and Ronnie doesn't sing that interestingly on it. The rhythms are nice, but it gets very, very stale, doesn't go much anywhere. But it's not bad, it's not even okay, it's still a good song, but it's not that great, in my opinion. So 4 out of 5. Then we move on to, I believe, a cover, Black Sheep of the Family. I used to think it was kind of a weird song. I couldn't get into it at first, but it's very, very upbeat. It's kind of Celtic-y. The drums sound very, very bizarre in the song, almost like he's using a cowbell or something the entire time. You hear a lot of like cymbals or cowbells or like bells or triangles or something, you know, that weird high-pitched shit. But still, pretty good song. 4 out of 5. Then we get to one of the easily best songs off the album, Catch the Rainbow. There's two ballady type of songs in this album, slower songs. This is like the most emotional and ballady song. It's very, very slow and kind of has that beautiful sway to it. There's not too much heavy guitar at all. It's a lot of melodic guitar playing. It's very, very emotional and touching, and is easily one of the better, not only songs on this album, but maybe one of the best Rainbow songs. Easily the best thing off this album, so 5 out of 5. Now starting with that song, this album starts to get really, really kick-ass. We go into Snake Charmer. You'd think it'd be a weaker song, because sometimes you get a song with a weird song title and you can kind of predict it's not going to be a very good song on the album. But this one turned out to be very, very heavy and kick-ass. I really enjoyed Snake Charmer. The riffs are heavy as hell. It's very grooving, very Deep Purple sounding. The bridge builds in this awesome explosion. That's the chorus where Ronnie says Snake Charmer in the most badass fucking ball-busting way ever. 5 out of 5. This one's also another sort of ballady song. This one's a lot more medieval sounding, and there's a lot more string instruments and stuff, violins, like acoustic guitars and stuff, not necessarily melodic guitars. So I would say it's as good as the other song, because that was more passionate. This one's just sort of a more Lord of the Ringsy kind of song. Really nice though. It is totally, totally a Blackmore's Night sounding song. So I'll give the song another 5 out of 5. Very well developed song and really great writing from Ritchie. Now we move on to easily the filler and worst song of the album. If you don't like rock and roll, it's very, very disjointed and weird sounding. It's not bad, it has some nice riffs here and there. It has good parts. 3 out of 5, it's okay. I think this is also an earlier Rainbow song, 16th Century Greensleeves. I think this was supposed to be a leftover track. This song's very, very cool too, very Celtic sounding as well, except a lot more heavy than the last song. This one has incredible writing to it as well. It has a lot of diverse riffing from Ritchie Blackmore. As Ralph Fierro would say, you guys should check out his channel, it's awesome, would say Ronnie James Dio would paint pictures with words. He would just make you imagine these beautiful lands like you could only see in great video games like Skyrim or Witcher 3 or something. These great medieval lands of beauty and wonder that cannot be captured in this industrial age today. What the fuck am I talking about? 16th Century Greensleeves is a 4.5 out of 5. Very, very well structured and written song. Then we move on to another sort of covery song called Still I'm Sad. Weird thing is though, is that they took the song and then they're like, fuck the vocals, we're gonna do a cool instrumental. And I really like the instrumental. The drums are really weird sounding. They sound like they're hitting the same like bells or cowbells or some shit over and over and over throughout the entire thing. Kinda weird, but once again it has that medieval sounding thing, almost like horses riding or carriages and stuff. Very cool. The riffs are awesome from Ritchie, and the soloing is incredible. Ritchie Blackmore is sort of an underrated guitarist. Every time he does a solo, it's very unique, and his riffs are pretty damn intricate. And the band Rainbow's underrated sometimes too. I think the only one that's widely talked about, I believe, is Rainbow Rising, album-wise. So I think they do need a little bit more recognition. I wish Ronnie had stayed with them a little bit longer. But enough of my gibberish. I'm gonna give this awesome, awesome debut a 9 out of 10.